Hello there folks, welcome to yet another marvelous anime video. The concept of the strongest or who's most powerful has been part of our human psyche for as long as we as a species have existed. There's a reason why ranks exist in sports and games. The dopamine rush that we humans get from not just participating, but also witnessing greatness is unmistakably addictive. This translates even to a video where we compare and list out the strongest characters in our favorite anime. Written and illustrated by Yuto Suzuki, Sakamoto Days is a series filled with colorful and wildly powerful characters. The manga for the series is currently being published in Shonen Jump magazine after an initial one-shot manga titled Sakamoto was published on Jump Giga in December 26 of 2019. An anime adaptation was announced to be in the works in May of last year, with the season split into two courses. The first half of the season will be released on January 11, 2025, with the second half set to air in July later that year. The series has drawn immediate comparison with the popular movie franchise John Wick, as both tell the tale of a retired hitman being thrust back unwillingly into the world that they thought they had left behind. Despite being a shonen anime, at the heart of it all is a story about family and redemption. Sakamoto Days might just be the best anime to come out this season. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 10 of the most powerful assassins in all of Sakamoto Days. The individuals are all capable of taking out hundreds of other assassins on their own and are virtually solo armies in their own right. To face them alone is to court almost certain death. From the morally ambiguous to the psychotic, these characters have one thing in common. They're all masters of their craft. Now, to be fair, many of these characters have yet to make their appearance in the anime, so this video is going to be a bit spoiler heavy. Now that we've warned you about that, strap on in as we dive into the dangerous world of assassins and try not to wander too far away because killing is their business and business is good. Satoru Yotsumura. Satoru Yotsumura is one of the oldest assassins out there in Sakamoto Days, and don't let his age fool you. He's one of the most skilled and powerful assassins to have ever existed and is one of the co-founders of the subgroup within the Japanese Association of Assassins called the Order. This subgroup comprises the strongest 10 assassins within the JAA and is tasked with maintaining order within the world of assassins in Japan. We're going to be seeing many more individuals who either belong to the Order or at some point were a part of it in this tier list today. Without this veteran assassin, this group would have never existed. Satoru Yotsumura comes with a glittering CV, and while being the founder of the Order is no doubt not a small thing, it's far from the only impressive thing he's done so far in his lifetime. We should mention that Satoru Yotsumura was also a teacher at the Japan Clear Creation, an ultra-elite assassin school that boasts graduates like Sakamoto and Nagumo. This man was considered the number 2 head honcho behind the previous chairman of the JAA. He was, however, expelled from the organization after the current chairman, Sei Asaki, overthrew his predecessor in a coup. Tragically, Yotsumura discovers that his own wife is part of the conspirators, and their marriage is nothing but part of her plan to gain leverage for their final plan. Yotsumura is forced to kill his wife in front of their only child. He had been deeply in love with her, and her betrayal forever broke something within him, even though he barely hesitated to kill her. His weapon of choice is a bladed 3-section staff, which he uses with deadly efficiency. Yotsumura is also Shishiba, one of the strongest assassins within the Order. Despite his old age, he's easily able to keep up with and take on both Shishiba and Nagumo, two individuals that will be making an appearance in this video later on. It's only when a third member of the Order, Ogarashi, joins the fray that Yotsumura concedes, stating that it was too difficult even for him to take on 3 members of the Order at once. In combat, he has an extremely calm demeanor and he remains unfazed, even in the heat of battle. His primary goal is the destruction of the JAA as it is now, earning his freedom and clearing his name. Despite being somewhat despised by his son for the death of his wife, Yotsumura is deeply affectionate of his child. Despite appearing like a shabby middle-aged man, there are few in the assassin's world that can match his durability, speed, strength, and guile. It's a shame that the series hasn't yet shown us what a monster Yotsumura truly was in his youth when he was at the peak of his powers. We hope that this will be redressed in the future, as we for one can't wait to see what he was like in his prime. Kindaka. Moving from one veteran to the next, the name Kindaka has been striking fear into the hearts of assassins and victims alike for a long time. The man, also known as the Steel Dragon, was once considered to be the fastest assassin alive. Together with Yotsumura, he is the founder of the Order, which he joined along with 3 others. Virtually impossible to stop, As shown when a younger Sakamoto and Nagumo were not able to keep up with his speed with their naked eyes, Kendaka's victims would be dead long before they knew what hit them. He was in charge of receiving students who were considered too hard to handle by the JCC in order to dispose of them. However, Kendaka would recruit students that he thought had great potential and showed signs of redemption. Once he recruited them, he would train them further under his mentorship to become prospective members of the order. In the past, he's displayed a friendly disposition towards Sakamoto, Rion, and Nagumo, even though it is during a battle with them that he sustains an injury that permanently hampers his legendary speed. When we finally meet him, Kendaka has finally awakened after an 8-year-long coma that he was put into by Uzuki. Upon waking up, he once again allies himself with Sakamoto and Nagumo. Kendaka is a very calm man and seems to have a genuinely good heart. From giving students destined for execution a second chance to caring for the lives of civilians during missions, there are multiple occasions in which Kendaka shows that he's not just a cold-blooded killer. In fact, when Sakamoto and his friends permanently injure Kendaka, he shows no anger towards them and even makes them an offer of goodwill. While he does seem relaxed and calm in most situations, to mistake his disposition as being careless should be done at one's own peril. His composure allows him to perceive things in the heat of battle regarding his opponents, making him find weaknesses to exploit. His speed is further enhanced by a pair of custom shoes that he refers to as light-speed shoes. The shoes are basically children's sneakers that have been modified to be extremely lightweight but durable enough for him to withstand the force generated when Kendaka launches himself or stops at high speed. Now, as a man in his early 50s, time might have slowed down this speed demon a bit, but his killer instinct remains as sharp as ever. Osaragi! Moving on from the two OG assassins, now let's talk about one of the newest and most powerful prospects within the assassin community. Osaragi was an ordinary girl who was brought up on a farm and had no ties to the assassin world. In a world where people are trained from a very young age to become killing machines, Osaragi is undoubtedly a prodigy to become as good as she is, starting so late in her life. Her talent is recognized by Shishiba, who inducts her into the order and becomes her mentor. Osaragi's personality is that of a whimsical young girl who doesn't take the world around her seriously. She likes giving people names, like when she called Sakamoto a bear or Dump an echidna. She will also push the blame for her actions to other people for the most mundane things. However, Osaragi is also seen apologizing for things she has nothing to do with. She's a massive scatterbrain whose mind seems to be constantly occupied with things that don't directly correlate with what she's currently engaged in. Osaragi has the strangest thoughts for someone engaged in Mortal Kombat, like worrying about not bringing along some band-aids. She's also a huge foodie who is constantly hoarding snacks and eating all the time. In typical fashion, Osaragi blames this habit on Shishiba. She appears dressed as a dark bride or a maiden dressed for a funeral, carrying a collapsible buzzsaw that she carries around in her suitcase. Osaragi uses the buzzsaw as a devastating close-range weapon and the chains surrounding it to various effects. Using the chains, Osaragi is able to tie up opponents, drag them towards her, and even swing the buzzsaw around like a flail, making her extremely diverse in battle. She's one of the youngest members of the Order and is easily seen crushing elite A-ranked assassins without putting in much effort. Osaragi is blessed with extraordinary speed, instincts, reflexes, and strength that belie her slender and frail-looking frame. She is seen defending herself even when caught off guard using nothing but a mere coin. While fighting the assassin called Dump, she smashes her opponent's head so hard into a stone statue that it shatters completely. In her fight against Yotsumura, she kicks the veteran assassin so hard that he flies through 5 housing blocks. When it comes to actually killing things, though, Osaragi is shown as being extremely apathetic and showing next to no emotions for the condition of her opponent. Currently, even though her prowess as an assassin is undeniable, she has yet to fight someone who's truly at her level. If Shishiba manages to instill even a little bit of self-discipline and focus into Osaragi, she has the potential to become a much bigger monster than she already is. Signs of this have already begun to show because after she kills Dumps, she's scolded by Shishiba for creating a mess during the battle. She has come to acknowledge that normal people should not be disturbed by the battles between assassins, as they have the right to live a normal life. Although she makes no promises, she's taken it upon herself to avoid involving innocents in her battles. If she's actually starting to take Shishiba's message seriously, everybody in the JAA and beyond needs to watch out for Miss Osaragi. Shishiba! If there was ever an assassin who considered his job to be a chore, it would be Shishiba. He is one of the current members of the Order and is considered to be one of its strongest members. Originally a rogue assassin, he was taken in by Satoru Yotsumura, who made him his protege. Under Yotsumura, Shishiba would learn all there is to know about the world of assassins and what it meant to live in that bloody world. Yotsumura would impart to him valuable lessons not just pertaining to the skills required during combat, but also regarding things like the code of conduct. The bond between the two would be extremely extremely tight, with Yotsumura introducing Shishiba to his family as well. Despite the two crossing paths with each other later in their lives as opponents, Shishiba is unable to kill his master on two separate occasions due to the bond they share. Perhaps it was to replicate this relationship or a sense of duty he felt, having been guided once upon a time himself, that Shishiba decided to take on Ogarashi as his own protege. His relationship with Yotsumura is reflected in the bond he shares with Ogarashi. Despite the respect he has for his master, Shishiba doesn't truly agree with Yotsumura's philosophy that an assassin should have a fanatical belief in killing. Shishiba's mantra for life is simplicity, and he practices it in every aspect of his life. This is perfectly represented by his weapon of choice, which is a pair of hammers. According to him, the hammers don't need reloading or sharpening, and they can hit and gouge his targets. His proficiency with the hammer, however, is anything but simple. He is seen being able to deflect bullets and other projectiles using his hammer. Shishiba is also seen changing his momentum and shifting his gravity on a dime using the claw of his hammer. His almost supernatural skills with the hammer, combined with his superhuman durability, strength, and agility, make him a near unstoppable opponent. While he does have a personality that's aloof in nature, and he doesn't generally like talking for the sake of it, he is supremely confident in his ability to do so. During the course of his battle with his former mentor, he stated that there was no way he would be defeated by an old man like Yotsumura. According to his master, if Shishiba possessed a different mindset where he would be more passionate about his work and actually garner a real enthusiasm for assassination, he would undoubtedly be the strongest member of the Order. This is also the reason we can't consider him to be placed in the top 5 assassins in the show, even though he could easily be placed there. Kumanomi. This female assassin is part of Slur's gang and is one of the most powerful assassins in Sakamoto days. Raised alongside Uzuki and Gaku in the infamous Al-Kamar orphanage, just like Gaku, she hasn't received any training through formal means in the art of killing. However, like the rest of her compatriots, she's powerful enough to take on the strongest members of the JAA. She has an intimidating aura, and she's able to scare both Slur and Gaku with a mere stare. According to Slur, she's a woman with extreme perspectives and no middle ground. What he means by that is she either cares for you or she hates you with a vengeance. This is seen when she goes after Hyo, a member of the Order, simply because the latter had cut Gaku's ears off during a fight. She also seems to have a great deal of respect for Uzuki as their leader and is willing to follow him to whatever end. Kumanomi has a strict no-nonsense and blunt attitude and doesn't suffer fools. However, her mental state seems to falter heavily if something were to happen to Uzuki. Her normally calm, composed nature is seen getting heavily shaken up, as seen when Slur attacks her in his Takamura Uzuki persona. She also has no qualms about civilians and innocents getting caught up in her attacks, which is one of the reasons she is able to defeat and kill Hyo. Her signature weapon is a pair of gloves that have devices that can generate an electromagnetic field, which she can use to weaponize the surroundings. She then uses the objects affected by her ability to hurl them at her opponents or defend herself. For example, she blocks Keisuke's bullet by creating a shield out of iron sand by densely packing it. She's also able to form a coil gun to launch small objects like nails with devastating force. While not at the same level as someone like Shishiba, she would still give him a pretty good fight. Just the fact that she's able to kill a member of the Order makes her leagues above other assassins and goes to show what a menace she can be. During her battle with Hyo, she does end up losing one of her arms, but in true anime fashion, she has it replaced with a robotic arm that's even better equipped to utilize her electromagnetic ability. There is surely more to come from this deadly femme fatale, and even though Hyo was a member of the Order, he was not the strongest member by a long shot and still managed to take a limb from her while fighting with a handicap of protecting innocents. It'll be interesting to see how she'll fare against the stronger members of the Order or other powerful assassins in the future. Yoichi Nagumo, considered by many, including Shishiba, to be the strongest, or at least the second strongest assassin in the JAA, don't let Nagumo's smile fool you. Belonging to a reputed family of assassins, Nagumo had shown great aptitude towards the art of killing from a very young age, following which he gained admission into the prestigious Japan Clear Cost Academy. There, he met Rion Akao and Taro Sakamoto, with whom he forged an extremely tight bond. Fighting among students wasn't technically forbidden at the JCC, but due to the trio going overboard with their constant battles, they would be expelled from the school. Just like how all problematic students were sent to Kendaka to be disposed of, the three would also find themselves in his presence. However, the older assassin would offer them a chance at having their expulsion retracted if they accepted a mission given by him and successfully completed it. The mission, to the surprise of Nagumo, was to assassinate Kindaka himself. While they fail the task, they do end up severely injuring Kindaka, following which, instead of getting expelled, Nagumo was inducted into the order. While unquestionably strong physically, as seen when he lifts Minimalist off his feet with one hand, Nagumo's fighting style is much more subtle, reflecting his spy family heritage. According to him, the key to assassination is deception. Nagumo is able to instantly take on the appearance and mannerisms of anyone he comes across almost instantly. This makes him nigh undetectable, allowing him to get up close and personal before taking someone's life. He can also apply the disguise on another person, but according to him, the disguise will only last for about 24 hours. Just to re-emphasize the point, Nagumo doesn't need to go down this stealthy and deceptive road, as he's capable of killing most people outright thanks to his superior strength, speed, and reflexes. According to some, he's said to be stronger than even Taro Sakamoto, partly due to the latter having retired for nearly 5 years. Slur himself acknowledges that Nagumo is amongst the top 2 assassins in the order. Gaku, a highly touted assassin and a rising talent in the scene, gets destroyed by Nagumo, despite him having the upper hand in the physical department. While most assassins have their signature weapon, they are proficient in the use of other weapons and in turning ordinary objects into weapons as well. However, Nagumo is quite literally a genius in this regard. His signature switchblade weapon has 6 hidden blades and functions. From daggers, a scythe, an axe, multiple blades, and even an invisible blade, Nagumo has a weapon for every occasion. True to his laid-back and carefree persona, he decides which weapon he's going to use for the kill based on a single dice roll. As if this wasn't enough, Nagumo is also an expert marksman and can use almost all firearms with great proficiency. In fact, he is JCC's 4th greatest shooter of all time. Nagumo wears a smile on his face constantly, even in the heat of battle, which often leads to his opponents becoming extremely irritated and gaining extra motivation to stop him from smiling. This is an excellent psychological weapon, as it breaks his opponent's composure, creating several openings for him. The only time he's seen taking the fight seriously and dropping his smile is when his friends get involved. Having quit both the Order and the JAA, Nagumo now stands beside his friend Sakamoto as they go head-to-head against the strongest assassins in the land who are coming to claim his friend's bounty. Gaku. The JAA under Sei Asaki built an orphanage called the Al-Kamar, which was actually a front to train orphans to become members of the order. However, when the orphanage is burned to the ground, there are said to be only 6 survivors, 4 of whom turn up as members of Slur's gang, who himself is one of the survivors. As expected of children raised under such brutal circumstances, Slur is extremely skilled and, even at his young age, one of the most powerful assassins in all of Japan. Like most top-tier assassins, Gaku is extremely calm and laid back, often likening the whole process of assassination to a video game. There are actually a lot of gaming references and lingo in the way Gaku speaks. For instance, he refers to getting serious injuries as speedruns to death, and he also compares controlling Shinea to playing the popular video game Resident Evil. Gaku is a true gamer, as you can see him either eating or playing video games, whether he's just relaxing or in the middle of combat. However, when it comes down to the actual act of killing, Gaku has little to no remorse regarding the act, especially when his opponents are the JAA. In fact, he actively tries to enjoy the act of killing just as one would enjoy their win in a video game. He also welcomes the challenge of fighting against powerful opponents as if they were bosses in a game. As a child, he had been held hostage by Sei Asaki in order to blackmail his younger brother Uzuki into doing his dirty deeds. Despite not receiving any formal training as an assassin, Gaku is arguably at the same power level as a member of the Order. Think about it. Every assassin goes through a school where their talents are honed and guided to give themselves the best shot to succeed. This man is already at the top despite nobody else stepping up. Nagumo even acknowledges that until that point, Gaku was the strongest opponent he had faced. He also has the distinction of being the first person to come out alive after facing Takamura, even though he suffers severe injuries. His weapon of choice is a giant mace whose head is covered in spikes, and as if that itself wasn't terrifying enough, it also shoots laser beams. Even though the make and size of his weapon are totally impractical, if one were to look at Gaku's physique, it would make complete sense that one could witness his monstrous strength and fighting style. Unlike Ogarashi, who has only faced opponents below her level, Gaku has been duking it out with some of the strongest in the series from the get-go, and that alone should speak volumes about his prowess. The scary thing about all that is, once again, he's not even close to his peak yet, and we can't wait to see what the future has in store for him. Kei Uzuki. The story of Kei Uzuki could very well be that of Taro Sakamoto if things had not gone according to plan for our protagonist. Just like Sakamoto, Kei wished to leave the world of assassins behind. However, while Sakamoto ended up with a normal life and a loving family, Uzuki's own family robbed him of a chance at having a normal life. Raised in the Al-Kamar orphanage run by his brother Sei Asaki, Uzuki led a tormented life, being forced against his will to kill and harm others. After failing to follow through on a deal he makes with his brother and escaping, he's tricked into killing his companion, Rion Akao, triggering a severe mental breakdown. This mental breakdown results in him emerging as the psychotic serial killer called Slur, or X, on a crusade against the JAA. He currently leads a group comprised of assassins who have been wronged by the JAA or the chairman in some way or another. Uzuki has killed over a quarter of the JAA's total members by himself and has held his own against the likes of Sakamoto and Nagamo on his own. Not to mention, he's the man who took down Takamura, who is considered to be the strongest member of the order. Slur also suffers from dissociative identity disorder, a condition due to which he has multiple personalities in order to deal with stress and trauma. This usually manifests for Uzuki during the battle or when his life is under threat, allowing him to match the characteristics of the individuals who have driven him into the corner. It should be noted that these personas remain within Slur even after the death of the individuals which caused them to manifest. His imitation is, in fact, so accurate that even individuals who have known the person he is mimicking admit that Kei's impersonation is almost indistinguishable from the original. We see this when Sakamoto and Nagamo admit that Uzuki's Rion is so similar to their old friend that they can hardly even see the difference. It's almost more accurate to call this an ability rather than disorder because he is also able to copy their fighting style, which then remains with him, as seen in the case of Takamura. When fighting the Swordmaster, Uzuki is able to mimic not only his characteristics but also his sword technique, despite having shown no previous signs of proficiency with the katana. In fact, his imitation is so good that he's able to kill Takamura with his own technique, showing that his copy is able to surpass the original. This makes him an extremely dangerous opponent with no real ceiling to his skills. Uzuki also has another medical condition called situs invernus, which means that all of his internal organs are either mirrored or reversed. This has helped him with a number of attacks that would have otherwise proven fatal for anyone else. Uzuki leaves an X mark beside his victims, earning him the nickname X. From a child forced to commit murder against his will to a serial killer who will stop at nothing to bring down the people responsible for stealing his innocence, Uzuki is one of the most complex villains in a shonen show. As the primary antagonist of the series, Slur lives up to the hype quite easily. He's one assassin who we can honestly say has the potential to overtake Sakamoto in his prime. We have a full character deep dive video on this character on our channel, so be sure to check that out as well. Takamura. Described as the killer with no breaks, Takamura is widely considered to be the strongest assassin in all of the JAA. In a profession where people die young, the fact that Takamura is still around at this age means he should not be underestimated by any means. While he appears as a senile old man who mutters intelligibly and is almost blind, he is in fact a veritable monster who, even at his age, who can swat away almost every assassin in the Sakamoto Days universe almost effortlessly. The fact that Slur hoped that Takamura had succumbed to his old age before their JAA raid is a testament to his prowess. Armed with just a katana, Takamura is the definition of pushing the limits of a human being's ability. He's a master of the Eye Jutsu, thanks to which he is able to cut things with such precision and force that his opponents have almost little to no time to react. It's said that Takamura's slashes are so precise that a severed limb from one of his attacks can be reattached with relatively little medical attention as long as it's done within a set time. This is because his cut is so clean that no extra damage is done to the nerves, blood vessels, bone, and muscle, allowing them to be reattached seamlessly. He was so fast that Sakamoto and Nagamo were not able to see the attack until it had happened. He's so strong and durable that an attack from Gaku's massive weapon had almost no effect on him, and thanks to his insane strength, Takamura is able to swing his sword with so much force that its area of effect increases greatly. Unlike many of the JAA members, Takamura doesn't really care who gets caught in his attacks. However, he's not a mindless, violent killing machine, and he displays a strong sense of loyalty and camaraderie towards Sakamoto during missions. He has also, however, not hesitated to go after Sakamoto's life without any hesitation after Asaki had placed a bounty on his head, displaying his loyalty towards the JAA. Even Uzuki suffers a lot against him, and he only wins by using what is basically the most broken ability in the entire series, which is essentially just plot armor. Without spoiling too much, the only person who's strong enough to defeat him in the end is Takamura himself. If that's not wildly overpowered, we don't know what is. While Sakamoto is widely considered the greatest assassin of all time, it's hard to believe that with Takamura around, considering how strong he is even in the twilight years of his life. Taro Sakamoto. The titular character of the series, Taro Sakamoto, is a legendary assassin who's often considered to be the strongest among all his peers. The JCC, which is the school Sakamoto graduated from, keeps a database of all their current students and alumni's fighting prowess. According to their data, Sakamoto is the greatest fighter to have ever graduated from their school. When he joined the school, he was considered to be one of the three great prospects alongside Rion Akao and Nagumo. He would, however, far outshine his friends, becoming the strongest assassin within the order during his time. The only known person to have ever survived an assassination attempt by Sakamoto was Uzuki. Despite being a hardened killer with no equal who had next to no qualms regarding taking another person's life, Sakamoto's life would take a massive 360-degree turn after meeting his wife, Aoi. His love for her would be so great that he would promptly drop everything he had worked his entire life for and retire from the life of a hitman. Taro Sakamoto, the legendary hitman, would start a family and run a small convenience store with his family and slip into obscurity. He would grow chubby and become a father while also becoming a cherished member of his community due to his helpful nature, which resulted in him being very popular with his neighbors. However, Sakamoto's past would catch up with him and he would be thrust once more into the world of assassins in order to protect his little family. Thanks to his wife's influence, Sakamoto began to have great respect for life and actively used whatever means necessary to avoid its loss. This was reflected in the way he now fought and the mercy he showed to his enemies. Sakamoto rarely displays any emotions but is shown to be extremely kind and caring. The author uses Shin's Esper abilities as a brilliant plot device to grant the audience insight into Sakamoto's inner mind, as he rarely speaks his thoughts out loud. The current version of Sakamoto, however, is much weaker than when he was in his prime. Even then, he's strong enough to keep up with almost all of the current top assassins, including members of the Order and Slur's gang. This just goes to show that if Sakamoto were still in their prime, this series wouldn't exist, as he's essentially the one-punch man of the assassin world. The author had to nerf him by about 70% for the story to take place. He's able to trigger his fitter form, similar to what he had when he was in his prime, for a huge boost in his abilities for a short time. But it's unclear how he does this. He regains his normal weight back in almost 24 hours, returning to his chubby form. In this form, we get to catch a glimpse of what the true powers of the man they call the legendary assassin truly are. Sakamoto has no specialized weapons, but is adept at turning anything in his hands into a weapon. Once upon a time, he held the record for being the greatest marksman in the history of the JCC, but that would be taken away from him by his ally, Heisuke. If the current version of Sakamoto is at just 30% of his power level and is still too hard for his foes to deal with, you can only imagine what a nightmare he must have been in his prime. It's therefore without any second thoughts that we can say that Taro Sakamoto is the most powerful assassin, even if he is retired in the entire Sakamoto Days series. There are many, like Takamura and Uzuki, who come extremely close to taking his crown, but Sakamoto matches and outshines them in all departments due to his well-rounded skill set, while they can't match up to him in a similar way. There is a reason why the show is named after him, after all. Marvelous verdict! The show has a number of other formidable characters, both for and against our protagonist, which we haven't even mentioned in this video. The author does a fabulous job of creating characters who are not just unique, but also have their own identity and place in the world he created. We haven't mentioned a number of characters like Kanaguri, who approaches killing from a filmmaking perspective, or Oki, who has been introduced as the leader of the Order. We're sure as the series progresses, there are going to be many more colorful additions to the cast, which we honestly can't wait to see. Although this list is in no particular order, we believe that the final three characters could all take the top spot as the strongest, depending on various factors and technicalities. Uzuki has the highest potential and has the ability to literally become his opponent. Sakamoto was the greatest and still has that within him, and Takamura is considered the strongest in the JAA and still displays such monstrous strength that even his considerable age hasn't slowed him down. Therefore, there's no wrong choice in this regard. The 10 characters we just put onto our current list of the 10 strongest, we believe, are thoroughly justified based on their power levels and the feats they've performed so far. That said, in the comments, let us know your top 10 assassins in the Sakamoto Days series, as we'd love to hear from you. If we managed to pique your interest with this video and you're enjoying the Sakamoto Days content on the channel, do let us know. We're eagerly awaiting the rest of the episodes of the show to drop on Netflix, and while you wait along with us, check out our other videos as we cover all your favorite anime and characters on our channel. We make videos where we cover the lore, craft theory, plot, and do a character analysis on all of the best animes and their characters. Time just flies by when we're with you guys, so it's sad to say that we've come to the end of this video. Thanks for sticking with us to the end, and we hope to see you soon in the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay marvelous.